This is Christopher Sernaque, hosting episode 17 of season 2 of the Current Topics in Science podcast. This podcast will address breaking scientific news in light of the origins debate and host interviews with scientists. This podcast is available on the following platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Video recordings of the podcast will be uploaded to YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. What would you do with $30 million? If you were Alfonso Gomez Rejon, you would spend it on making your movie, The Current War. The Current War was a 2017 film that explored the historical battle between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla to see just who it would be to light up the world. While Edison and Tesla were both brilliant in their own right, microscopic creatures beat them to the punch. According to Prevention.com author Kayla Blanton, nature never fails to amaze us. She was reporting on how a coast in California is experiencing bioluminescent waves. Her article entitled, "Watch Electric Blue Bioluminescent Waves Light Up California's Monterey Bay," talks about how bioluminescent waves have been lighting up California's coast since April, and that the light was caused by a bloom of phytoplankton known as dinoflagellates. The aquarium sent out a tweet explaining why these phytoplankton each decided to show up Edison and Tesla, which read, "When a dinoflagellate is shaken up, a light-emitting chemical reaction inside the plankton produces a blue flash that startles a would-be predator, limiting their effectiveness. Imagine a strobe light going off with every bite of a sandwich." I bet you're wondering what dinoflagellates and their electric blue light show look like. These creatures are astounding single-celled organisms, sometimes referred to as life that glows. Interestingly enough, dinoflagellates are phytoplankton, which are organisms that are essential to life, glowing or otherwise. Hank Green, host of the popular YouTube channel SciShow, said that phytoplankton are arguably the most important life on Earth. Phytoplankton, Hank Green says, are all the tiny aquatic organisms that can turn sunlight into food via photosynthesis. Speaking about the importance of phytoplankton, Green said, "They consume about as much carbon dioxide as all of the world's forests and other plants combined, pulling roughly 11 gigatons of carbon from our atmosphere every year." He went on to say that phytoplankton account for more than half of the planet's yearly oxygen production. I'm sure that Hank Green, who spoke highly of these magnificent organisms, would be interested to know that these little guys are making a comeback. According to Eureka Alert, a service of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, UCI oceanographers predict increase in phytoplankton by 2100. In an article called "Lowly Plankton Packs High Caliber Heat," Frank Sherwin, who received his bachelor's in biology and master's in zoology, makes the case that dinoflagellates are intelligently designed. Dinoflagellates possess an apparatus for hunting that acts like a Gatling gun. The Gatling gun is a rapid-fire weapon invented in 1861 by Richard Gatling, and a forerunner of the modern machine gun, modern electric motor-driven rotary guns, and rotary cannons. Sherwin went on to write, "As is typically the case with evolution theory, scientists were not expecting to find such sophistication and intricacy in the lowly plankton. After all, most are single-celled organisms." Gregory Gavalas at Arizona State University, Tempe states, "People hadn't been able to figure out how these dinoflagellates attack their prey because their ballistic mechanisms are so unexpectedly complex." Sherwin continued, Regardless of the unexpected complexity, the article attempts to put a positive evolutionary spin on this discovery, saying, the researchers also found new evidence for the evolutionary origins of these extrasomes. The rest of Sherwin's article covered the ideas of convergent evolution and the nature of scientific predictions. He concluded by saying, creation scientists see these gun-like extrasomes as complete, fully formed mechanisms and functioning perfectly with no indication of having evolved. These fascinating shooting structures were designed as a method of obtaining food, both before and after the fall. Even the smallest and lowliest creatures show incredible design. Hank Green said that phytoplankton are arguably the most important life forms. However, in God's eyes, we're worth more than many phytoplankton. The Bible says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created." Thank you very much for taking the time to learn with us on current topics in science, where scientific discoveries are examined in light of the origins issue. Please share and subscribe to the Current Topics in Science podcast. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the truth saves.